Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We wanted to call this press conference because obviously the United States, along with Japan and South Korea, are extremely concerned about what is coming out of North Korea these days. The three of us have all asked for a Security Council emergency meeting, which we will be going into. But really, if you look at the process, we've been talking constantly about test after test after test from North Korea. But now we're seeing the longest ballistic test that we've seen so far. Then we're hearing the rhetoric of any time, any place. And we're not going to continue to just say, go ahead and test as often as you want. This has become more than just a problem. This is a true threat to every country in the world. And what you have is a leader who is paranoid. He thinks that we're trying to have regime change. He thinks there's people trying to assassinate him. We're not trying to do any of those things. What we are saying is, for peace on the Korean Peninsula, he has to stop his testing. He has to stop any nuclear programs that he has. The United States, we are willing to talk, but not until we see a total stop of the nuclear process and of any tests there. As you look at this test, Russia should be extremely concerned at the fact that they came within 60 miles of their border. We have often been concerned about South Korea and Japan. We will continue to have their backs. We're going to continue all of our military exercises with South Korea because we think it's important in order to protect them. We're going to continue to have the back of Japan because we think that's important, but we're trying to also have the backs of the region. This is something where we have to turn around and tell the entire international community, you either support North Korea or you support us. Because that's what it comes down to. You are either with North Korea or not. And what that means is, when we are talking about sanctions, are these countries putting these sanctions into effect? Are these countries actually following through on the sanctions that they're supposed to? We want to look at the current sanctions in place, and we want to look at strengthening the sanctions. And the United States is not past looking at third country entities who are helping North Korea and putting sanctions on them. Because if you are supporting North Korea, you're against the rest of the international community. And what we're saying now is, you have to send a signal to North Korea. We all have to send a sign to North Korea, and that is no more. This is not playtime. This is serious. These threats are not welcome, and you've got the entire international community against North Korea on their activities. And we are now going to really kind of tighten the screws on this. We're going to make sure we put the pressure on them economically, diplomatically, politically, and internationally in any way that we need to. But we are going to send a very strong, unified message to North Korea that the international community wants to support you, but as long as you test and as long as you continue your nuclear program, you are on an island by yourself. And I would caution the countries that we have worked well with China. They have really tried to help us in our communications with North Korea, but we've seen where they have strengthened sanctions, other countries are trying to fill that void. And I will tell you that if you are a country that is supplying or supporting North Korea, we will call you out on it. We will make sure that everyone knows who you are, and we will target those sanctions towards you as well. But I am here with my counterparts, and so now I'm going to turn it over to the Ambassador of Japan.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you for working together with us and taking the lead in calling for this Security Council meeting. I think this is going to be a very important meeting. The missile launch that you've all seen, this is, again, a very clear provocation on the part of the North Koreans. We ourselves, Japan, has gone to them directly to protest and to condemn them. The Security Council unanimously agreed on a press statement yesterday to condemn them. We will have a meeting from now to discuss where we go from here. The important thing is we need to put further pressure on North Korea to make them feel that they have to change the course. A lot of people say, well, we've been going through this, so there needs to be some change. Well, the change has to come from North Korea, not us. We will continue our course. And as you can see, the three countries, United States, ROK, and Japan, are standing together. It shows our solidarity, and we'll make it that way, keep it that way, and we hope that the international community will move with us. Thank you very much.
Well, let me thank first Ambassador Haley and Ambassador Bessho for their leadership and solidarity in dealing with North Korea's yet another missile provocation, the seventh already this year alone. I also appreciate the press statement of the Security Council issued yesterday that contains the strong language of condemnation and warning to Pyongyang. It is deeply regrettable indeed that North Korea has also chosen a wrong path once again by launching a ballistic missile only a few days after the inauguration of our new government in Seoul. Obviously, Pyongyang, with this missile launch, Pyongyang tried to test the resolve of our new government in its pursuit of denuclearization of North Korea. But our response remains as firm as ever. At the meeting of the National Security Council convened immediately after the North Korean provocation, President Moon, our new president, made it clear that he will resolutely respond to whatever provocation by North Korea, and that a dialogue is possible only if and when there is a change in North Korea's behavior. So I think Pyongyang must realize that, paradoxically, what they want to achieve by developing nuclear weapons can only be achieved by choosing the path towards denuclearization. In order to make North Korea stop further provocations and come back to a genuine dialogue for denuclearization, we in the international community must continue to speak out in one voice and act in solidarity. And we should do so with renewed sense of urgency, because North Korea is at the final stage of nuclear weaponization. Time is running out, and the clock is ticking towards the tipping point. Thank you.
Ambassador Haley.
Yes.
Yes, Rosalind Jordan with Al Jazeera English. We know that you and the Chinese have been discussing a way forward since the previous missile launch. Have the U.S. and China come up with a strategy or a set of sanctions that they are ready to present to the Security Council?
I think that's what we're working on now. We don't have it done yet, but I think we are working with Beijing along with South Korea as well as Japan, as we are all trying to work together to come up with a unified plan as to how to approach North Korea. But absolutely, sanctions is something that we're looking at, and we're going to continue to see where that takes us.
Last time, Michelle Nichols from Reuters.
Yes.
Secretary of State Tillerson was here, and he said that the Security Council should act before North Korea does. Do you sense that the Chinese are willing to impose further new sanctions on North Korea before North Korea conducts some sort of nuclear test or long-range missile test?
So I think that China was really working with us in terms of tightening the sanctions, in terms of what they were saying to North Korea, in trying to convince them. We have not seen anything from them in the past week, but we are encouraging them to continue moving forward, and I think we'll have to see. But the conversations that I have had and that have been made with my counterpart and in dealing with Beijing is that if they did something else, and if it looked to be long range, which this does, and if it looks like it is proactively leaning towards an ICBM, which it does, then we would take action. And so I believe that China will stay true to that, and that we'll come together on how we're going to do that.
What about White Book? World International Property Organization, part of the UN, has helped file a patent application for North Korea for sodium. I understand.
Are there any other questions in reference? Yes.
Carolyn, Putin recently said that, obviously, you said they should be worried, but they said that while what North Korea is doing is very dangerous, that the U.S. should stop intimidating North Korea. What is your response to that?
So it's interesting, those that are saying that we should stop intimidating North Korea. What about North Korea intimidating us? These tests coming from them, they're intimidating the entire international community. They're trying to strengthen their muscle with no cause. There is no reason for North Korea to be having these actions outside of the fact they just choose to do so. So the idea that Russia would say we're intimidating, they have it all wrong. It is actually North Korea trying to intimidate the international community, and Russia itself should be concerned because that ballistic missile test was a signal to South Korea for their new elections. It was a signal to Russia in how close it got. It was a signal to Japan being in the region, and it was a signal to us. And through that, the threats on all of us create threats for the entire international community. Everyone should be concerned. And Russia has the same decision to make as the rest of the international community. You either support North Korea or you don't, but you have to choose. You have to pick a side.
One more question from the Asian press, please, for Ambassador Haley's counterparts, and they have to go into session. Anyone here?
Last question.
Sally Mendoza from Voice of America. Ambassador, we have heard reports just recently about the cyber attack and then possibility they might have come from North Korea. We know the Obama administration had said that they had a big facility where they were training hackers to do this type of attacks. What would be the consequences if it were to be determined by the intelligence community in the United States and their partners that it actually came out from North Korea and that created the chaos that we saw in the past few days, over 100 countries, that paralyzed the British health system?
Sadly, it wouldn't be a surprise, but it would increase the concern. I think right now North Korea is trying to pose a threat in every way possible, and that is with nuclear ability, with military ability, with the cyber attacks. We are seeing them overly react in a way that's not logical, and we're seeing that come from all sides. No one is immune to the threat of North Korea. Not one country is immune to the threat of North Korea. And so if every country does not act, if every country does not impose sanctions that are in response to the UN resolutions we've already passed, if every country doesn't look at new sanctions to put on North Korea, then you are allowing them to continue the acts they're doing, and you're supporting them in that process. And that's something that the international community will have to decide. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.